Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to be discussing head shape and why it matters. A couple of years ago I got this book for Christmas. Clearly I've run through it. If you don't know who Vidal Sassoon is, look him up. We'll probably do a video on him another day when we get into the history of cosmetology. This is written by a guy named David Kenningson who studied under Vidal Sassoon. At the beginning of the book, there is a letter from Vidal Sassoon to this guy. So if you're a hair nerd, if you like history and you like things like that, this is a really interesting book. I'm not really going to continue to nerd out about this book, but I do want to quote some things from it. I do want to go over some things from it, give you my opinion. That's what you're here for, right? It's my opinion, my resources, my knowledge, my education. I'm here to share it with you. So let's do that. In this book, David Kenningson, he says that he became aware of something that altered his experience and perception of education and haircutting itself forever. I discovered that our haircutting profession had no standard language with which to communicate. But how could that be? How could it be possible that we didn't have a standard language when we clearly talk to one another and education does exist? Perhaps talking to one another and communication are not the same occurrence. Wow. Perhaps communication and talking to one another are not the same occurrence. Most problems in the salon, whether it's stylist to stylist or stylist to client or client to receptionist, most problems in a salon are when people are talking to one another and no one's communicating. And it happens so often. What I want to accomplish in this video is to have a shared language that you and I can use moving forward in all of our videos so that you understand what the hell I'm talking about and why we're even here and what we're doing this for. So if we are not speaking the same language, we're not going to accomplish that goal. And my goal is to help you understand what it is that you're doing. You're paying a lot of money to be in cosmetology school. Even if you have graduated already and you're in the salon, you paid a lot of money to be where you are. Do you want to take ownership over your life and over your career and over your education? And if you do, make sure that you're making the most of it and that you are using clear and concise language so that there is no misinterpretation, there is no room for error. You know exactly what it is that you're learning, you're receiving, and what you are putting out there for your client as well. In this book, they go over what they call the 10 planes of the head. The 10 planes of the head are going to be the hairline, nape, occipital, parietal, mastoid, sideburn, temple, fringe, crown, mohawk, crown, whirl. This is not how I learned. How I learned the shape of the head was through the bones of the head. So this is the frontal. This is going to be your parietal. The parietal ridge really goes along this whole path through here, and it's the round part of the head. So this is where your recession area would be. That's going to be dependent upon that parietal ridge. So let's start at the beginning. The first thing that I learned was the center front hairline. So that hairline is going to go it's the hairline, right? It goes all the way around. That's going to look different for everyone. The hairline just goes around the whole perimeter of the exterior head shape, which is this. This is the interior. This is the exterior. The nape is going to be located back here. This is where the neck and the head meet. So your nape is going to be below the occipital. The occipital is going to be that pokey outy bone back here that you feel. It's the bone that tells you if you were loved as a child, whether you were held or laid down flat. Isn't that the TikTok trend? The occipital, why is this important? We need to know how protruding that occipital is, right? Because especially if we're doing a shorter, more graduated shape, if they have skin folds back here in the occipital, I need to know that because that's going to tell me how short I can go before it is seen. The parietal ridge, this is going to follow along from that recession area all the way around below the crown, all the way around to the other side. This is going to determine where that recession area is. A lot of people think that the recession area is the hairline, and while that's kind of true. You can have a receding hairline, not that I do. You can have a receding hairline, but this is your recession area, and that's based off of that parietal ridge through here. So some people do have a higher parietal ridge, some people have a lower, some people have a more flared out, some people have more conical shaped. This is important to know when you are doing hair cutting, because you need to know where to set that weight line, especially with shorter graduated shapes, especially with round shapes, because you're following the round of the head. So the parietal ridge is something that is very important to know and to be able to identify. When you are trying to identify where that is, you can place your comb on the side right here where it is flat up against, well, this is my finger, where it is flat up against the head. This is the lower parietal ridge where it starts turning and it makes contact right there. That is your mid recession. And above, right here, is above the parietal ridge. This is your high recession. So low, mid, and high recession is how I would explain these 3 points of reference on the hairline. But again, I'm gonna know that that's where those are regardless of a receding hairline based off of that parietal ridge. The mastoid. This is right behind the ear, right here. That is going to determine where the transitional point from the front of the head to the back of the head is. This is a very important point of reference to know, because when we do want to section the front from the back, that's an easy way to do it. The sideburn, I never learned that as a point of reference, but I guess it is. The temple, this is definitely one that I did learn. The temple is that soft part right here. This is going to be really important when we are trying to determine balance and where we want fringe to sit. If we want it to come to the temple, below the temple, is right above your cheekbone. So that's a good point of reference for your face as well as where you want to distribute weight. Fringe area I learned as the frontal bone. So while you have your front hairline right here, this is where you are deciding where your bangs are sitting. Where you're sectioning off for all of that is going to be dependent upon that frontal bone. The frontal bone also is where the apex of the head is going to exist. It's where all 3 of these bones come together to meet. This is the highest point of your head. So this is going to be right in line with that mastoid and where you want to separate the front from the back. The apex is a really good indicator of your head shape as well. Some people have a more pointy ridge at the top of their head. Some people, it is a little bit more flat. This is going to determine my layering pattern, my fringe pattern, any kind of texturizing that I want to do to give volume on top to balance out any of the head shape. I want to fill in any negative space that the head shape doesn't fill in. The last thing I want to talk about is the crown. The crown is located back here. Oftentimes, this is going to be where your growth pattern or your whorl is. You may not have a whorl. Everybody's growth patterns look different. Some people have a bajillion growth patterns on their head. So it's not necessarily always the growth pattern right here that's going to determine where the crown is. I'm going to take from the apex, where this is the highest point of the head, and it's typically about 3 fingers back from that apex. Then I'm going to have the top of the crown. So that's going to be right here, and that's a transitional point where the head starts curving back down. This is where you would wear a crown. So I can take my comb, I can put it on here, top, crown, below crown. And it's going to be in between your crown and your occipital. So those are all the points of the head. That's how I learned that, and that is how Vidal Sassoon and David Kinnings explains the 10 planes of the head. All of these are transitional points, whether it's rounding or front to back, top to bottom. These are all different, I guess, planes of the head. Some of them are more flat, some of them are more round, and it really is your job as a master stylist or a seasoned hairdresser to understand those shapes and how it can affect the finished look of the haircut and or color. When am I looking at the points of the head? This is during the shampoo, this is during the consultation, during scalp analysis. I'm getting my hands in there, and yes, I am looking for lice, I am looking for contraindications, I am looking for things that will keep me from being able to do the service, but I'm also looking at the shape of the head so that I know, hey, she's got a really low parietal ridge, so I need to set that weight up here to balance out the width that's happening here. It's not necessarily about making someone the perfect oval or the perfect shape. It's about balancing out the negative space that the head shape doesn't fill. Linked down below, I have posted in my store a head sheet that has the points of reference for the head and all of the definitions for the bones on the head. If you want to, it is free to download. Go ahead and check that out. Comment below if you have any questions about the head shape. Comment about what terminology you use at your school or at your salon for the head shape. Please take a second to like our video, comment below, subscribe, hit the ring notification bell, anything that you can to help us out. It is just me. I am a hairstylist. I am a video editor. I am a pre-pro. I do it all. So anything that you can do to help out just a little, it helps out a lot, honestly. So whatever you think is small, trust me, it's not. Even just a watch, I really appreciate it. And that was our video on head shape. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. YouTube is going to suggest a couple of videos here. Click on to the next video, see what it has in store for you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.